G'day guys, how's it going? So in this video, we're going to look at what is called an option in Rust and how we can use it to safely get values out of a vector, right? Now, what is an option? Well, essentially it's a data type that's in Rust that allows us to perform certain operations, and it's going to either tell us whether it succeeded or it failed. And the way it does that is it basically captures two states. So there's what is referred to as the none state, which means there was an error while trying to perform the operation. And then there's what we call the some state, which basically allows us to return the value of the operation as a tuple. Okay. Now, why do we do this? Well, essentially, it's to cater for unexpected errors. Now, in other programming languages, we'll have things like try and catch blocks and what we call exceptions to basically manage, situations where the application may fail unexpectedly and we may need to handle it. Well, this is Rust's way of doing that. Okay, so let's just get started. So, just to give you an idea of what an option is, we could create a variable like so, and we can go option sum, and this can be a type of option, right? And each option takes a data type. So in this case, let's just go I32. And this can be equal to either something called a sum or something called none. Okay. Now, if I say none, basically what I'm saying here is this variable is defaulted to an error. Okay. Or it's going to return a negative state, so to speak, depending on how you handle it. The other one is a sum, right? And the sum needs to take in a value. So let's say in this case, I got 10, right? That will be the number that will be returned when I detect that this option is in fact a sum later on in the code. Now, how do I do that? Well, let's just keep this as a sum for the moment. I can do something like this. I can say let option sum is sum, right, is equal to option sum. I'm getting the N's and M's mixed up there. Dot is sum. All right. So what this is doing is it's checking to see if this option object here is a sum or not, which we know it is because we've just equaled it to that. All right. We can also do something like this. We can say let option none of type option I32. We'll have that one equal to none. And then we'll do something similar to this, where we can say option none is none. And we can go option none and then call the method is none. All right. So basically what I've written here is the first option that we have is equal to a sum with a value in it. The second one is equal to a none, right? And these methods are just checking this to ensure that, yes, this is a sum, it's going to return a Boolean result. And same as here, if it's a none, it's going to return true for a Boolean result, right? So now we could just print this out. Let's say print line option sum is sum, and then just print out this. All right, so this should print out true, and then the same here for is none on option none. So both of these print statements should print out true, right? And there we go. All right, so we've got option sum is true, option none is true. Cool. Now, that example on its own isn't very interesting. It doesn't really demonstrate why you would use this. So let's have a look at it in regards to vectors, okay? So let's go let number list. So now I'm going to create a vector equals vector, and we'll just put the numbers 1 to 8 in here. Like so, right? And let's say to start with, we're going to have an index to search, and we'll give it a valid value of 5 just to begin with, right? So if I now go let option equal number list, and we call this method called get, right? This method returns an option, and it's going to be an option of type well, in this case, I32, because the number list has a vector with I32s in it, right? So if I now go and get me the value at the index, right? This is not going to return a number. This is going to return what is an option, right? An option of I32. So to get this, we could do something like this. We could go if option dot is sum. We then go, okay, get value from option, right? And then we could have another one that maybe checks to see if it is none. And I keep forgetting I can't have parentheses in Rust. My apologies. I've been working in different programming languages. Okay, option is none. And here we could say print line, and we could say could not find value at index to search. Okay. Now I still haven't really demonstrated exactly what the benefit is yet. So let's do that now. So if I was to change this to 15, right? We know that there's not 15 entries up above here. But what would happen is that if we didn't use get and we just used index, so in fact, we could even just do this quickly. Right, if I try to put this in an index, we kind of saw this in the last video, but let's just do it here anyway. So I'll just comment this out for a sec. If I run this, we get a runtime error, right? It panicked because the length is 8, but the index is 15, right? So this happened at runtime, and it actually crashed the program, right? In most applications, we don't want to crash unless we are absolutely certain that we've done something wrong that we shouldn't handle, right? In this situation, we probably would say, well, we shouldn't allow something like this to happen, right? If we know there's only ever going to be 8 items, we should be gracefully handling it in some way. So that is why we use this option, right? So let's revert this back to a get, like so. And now if we run this, now you're going to see it just gives us a nice message saying, could not find value at 15, which means the application does not crash, right? So that's perfect. That's exactly what we may intend here. We're handling the situation where somebody accidentally gave us an index that doesn't actually match up with any item inside the vector. Cool. So let's put this back to 5. So we do have a valid situation. And now we get no result, right? So now let's talk about how we're going to get the value out of this option once we've determined it's a sum, right? So we can do that easily by just going let value equals option dot unwrap. So unwrap is how we get the value from sum. And then I could do something like this, print line, got the value for index to search. Cool. And it's giving me an error. I'm not too sure why that's happening. Maybe let's just set this as an I32 address for a second, because this is not a number. This is actually giving me the address of the I32. That's the other thing I need to remember, is that that's not the value, that's the address. So it's complaining. Just trying to remember how this worked. Sorry, just give me a moment, guys. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Essentially, all it was I accidentally had space in here. I realized I can't do that. I've got to have no spaces. That's all it was. I was just being a bit weird. So yeah, so now what we've got is a value that we can now put in the print statement, and we can see that the value at the bottom here is 6 when it's at index 5, which is this one here, right? Sorry about that. All right, so that's a lot of work for something you may want to do a lot. You know, you may want to check if it's a sum or if it's a none. what if you just want to handle both cases really quickly and you want to handle it straight off the operation itself, right? So say based on this operation, I just want to write a quick message to the console, whether it's, it's working or not, right? So what we can do is instead of actually assigning it to a variable, we can do something like this, right? We can use this match keyword. And what it will do is match up against what the call is. And as long as that call returns an option, which in this case, the number list dot get does, right? So if I now go index to search, right? As long as this returns an option, we can handle it here. So we have to handle both the none case, right? And we have to handle the sum case. And the sum wraps out like that, right? So you can get the value directly in that manner. And then we can handle it this way, right? So this notation can be a little bit easy to work with. So we can take, say, let's just go back a few steps and grab those print lines. I'm just going to quickly bring them into picture here. In fact, I can just return this object directly like that. So we got that, and then let's say, what was the error that we had before? I'll just quickly type it again. I think I said could not find value at index to search. Cool. So this is another way we can achieve the same thing we just did, except this time we don't have to worry about having a variable to capture it in. We can just use match to go, okay, match whatever the result is coming back from this. If it returns a none, execute this. Otherwise, if it returns a sum, you can unwrap the value straight here and you can use it appropriately, right? And if you need multiple statements, you can put the parentheses in and do multiple lines, right? So that's a match statement, and that's another way that you can handle, if there's an option that's returned and you want to handle both the none and the sum outcome. But a lot of the time, you may not even want to deal with none at all, right? And you don't want to go if is sum because you kind of just want it to infer that for you. You can do basically something like this, which is an if-let statement. So, for example, we can have the same numbered list, we can have the same search the index, and we can go if let sum value. So if the result is a sum value, we're going to put it into this sum with the value, right? And we can say equals to number list dot get index to search. And in this situation, we can just quickly print out what we had before, which is got the value for index to search. All right. So this code is basically saying, don't worry about errors. I only do something if there's no error, right? And just do this and get the value from the sum here. Cool. So if I run this, it's going to say got the value 6 for index 5. But if I give it a value that's outside the bounds, therefore it will throw an error, well, nothing's going to return. Nothing's going to print. It's going to continue on. So the if condition fails as a result and nothing happens. Cool. And that's pretty much all I really want to show in this video. The important thing to understand is what we're doing here is we're safely accessing indexes in a vector by using get and using this idea of options. And we'll look at options a little bit more in future videos, but for now, that's where I want to stop it. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time.